has a panel of trainers, and one of the axes that we have put more emphasis throughout this local forum, the training of the future professionals linked to tourism. And in this second day of the first local forum, we continue now and want to welcome to this new panel. We have more than 1,200 participants around the world, and we want to say that this local forum is taking place within the Fifth World Forum on Local Economic Development. And now we introduce the next panel. Challenges of the private sector for the future of tourism. Moderator, one of the voices of tourism in Argentina in terms of the private sector, Mr. Aldo Elias. Aldo Elias is the president of the Tourism Argentine Chamber, president of the South American FEDESUD, entity that represents the Chamber of Tourism of South America, president of the Institute of Touristic Quality, ICTA, and second VP of the Tourist Association of Hotels in Córdoba, Argentina. And the Argentine Chamber of Tourism is the vice president for the regional association. It's a pleasure to give you the floor now, Aldo Elias, and you can present your panel.
Thank you, Laura, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks again for this invitation to be part of the local forum. I believe we are in significant time regarding tourism, thinking how we can reposition ourselves in this new scenario we're undergoing as a result of COVID-19. Challenges of the private sector for the future of tourism, with these two excellent representatives from the private sector and the central aspect of tourism, will be able to guide us through, will give us their vision regarding what the way ahead. First, I will introduce Roberto Menguales, the president of Association of Hotels from Argentina. For 6 years now, he's been the president of the American Hotels chain with over 20 establishments in Argentina, Uruguay, and Chile. He has a master's degree. He was the president of the Cordoba Visitors and Conventions Bureau and a member of the Cordoba Tourism and Chamber of Tourism. Good afternoon, Roberto, and thank you for joining us. The floor is yours. Thank you, Aldo. It's an honor to be here. And as regards the challenges we have ahead, I believe there are some clear challenges, such as resilience. In the first place, we're going through the deepest crisis in the past 50 years. And as regards future challenges, aside of resilience, which is really key, is adaptability, that is flexibility to changes. If we learn something about this crisis, is that we need to be very flexible in the face of everything. Digital transformation has been so important, brought us so many opportunities, particularly regarding resilience, especially for the future of the hotel business. And also takeaways, different assisted buffets based on the demands and the preferences of guests, business activity in order for flight cancellations in the short and medium term, but in the medium term as well. As regards business flexibility, we're speaking about the tools that are here not only in the world but in Argentina that help us, manage more dynamic fees and also flex fees about services. Because if this crisis, this crisis sort of emphasize a change that was already taking place. The guests paid for what added value. So flex fees, flex rates, without breakfast or gym or car park, and so on and so forth for the different services, so that the rate actually adjusts to the expectations of the customers. So flexibility is cross-sectional to all of the areas as regards shared files, organized files, and flexibility as regards changes, particularly in Argentina, where standards change many times during the year, conditions change many times as regards administrative issues. So we need and then flexibility in terms of front desk, for example, web check-in, express checkout. That is, flexibility has to be present in all of the aspects of the organization and the hotel. And for this, we need another aspect, which is the cultural aspect, not only to prepare teams to be flexible, but also for teams to be ready for what's next. I believe that tourism has been growing increasingly in the last few years, except for the past 15 months, but we'll go back to a growth curve as the one we had in the past. And so we need to psychologically overcome this crisis. So we need to work on the leaders so that they can support their teams and that teams are prepared to support the guests, because they will find a new reality. They will have a new reality, and they will find these changes we will have incorporated, that is, in terms of protocols that will be established in the industry, and also to support not only guests but also business customers, suppliers, and other team members. So it is very important to work on empathy, to be really in the shoes of the other, and that is something that at some point with these pandemics we have lost, and we need to actually fall in love with tourism. They say that everything changes, but what can't change is passion. And the hotel business is an activity that I'm really passionate about, and everyone that is in the sector feels the same way. And so I think that is why it's important to recover it. And so I believe we need to go back to that passion, to be true guests with this new reality and the challenges we have ahead. I see that apart from thanking you for participating, the secret of you've been watching The Secret of Her Eyes, and this is where you get the passion. What you just discussed, I feel that will force us to work very much on training, right? Particularly training our human resources. I mean, are you considering that? That's right. I mean, from the Association of Hotels and Tourism, we have a virtual platform that we released right before the pandemics, where we provide over 2,000 hours per month. And we're also developing some training and talks and considering the challenges we have for the future in the short and medium term. Thank you again for your participation, Roberto. We'll now give the floor to Gustavo Hani, who is the president of the FAEVIT. Gustavo has been working since 1998. He was the president of the Association of Travel Agencies from Mar del Plata, and since from 2009 to 2011, and he's been part of the federation since 2011. He is the president of FAEVIT and INCATUR, that is the Institute for Tourism Training, president of the Latin American Convention Fair, and the vice president of the Argentine Chamber of Tourism. And he is also the president of the Buenos Aires Chamber of Tourism. Gustavo, thank you for being with us and being part of the first local forum. For those of us who are listening to us, will listen to the ideas that travel agents have as regards the challenges we're facing as a result of this pandemic.
Thank you, Aldo. Thank you, Roberto. Great friends and great people. I learned so much from you and from many others in the sector. I'd love for us to be talking about challenges into the future. For the past year, we've tried to see if our sector was going to have a future. So if we're going to be able to get out of the situation we are in and that we're still in. Nobody thought that this could last more than a year. We underwent different stages. We saw colleagues that weren't able to continue or that didn't want to continue, others that kept fighting and fighting and trying to find new tools, survival tools, something that we were not used to doing. Because what we were doing, we were just selling, we were working, and now we need a lot of survival tools. I think we did a very important job all around the country. I think we have put together a lot of different measures to be able to survive. All the agencies need to survive and to embrace the future. All of those measures that were very important to continue, together with the public administration, we need to think about what's coming too, how we are going to reinvent ourselves. Roberto talked about resilience. For us, travel agents, it's very important to be resilient, to reinvent ourselves, to look for different niches, and to always foster, and this is something we talk about a lot, the public-private relationship. We are all convinced that that's the key. But I also believe that there will be a new scenario, which is the private-private relationship. I think that we all have the great responsibility to generate a new way to relate ourselves from the business side. This pandemic proved that no one can be saved by itself. We are all together in this, and we need to work together. And in order to do so, we need to generate trust in the business chain. So we need to produce more modern tools, to have no fights, saying, okay, you are that, I'm this. We all need to find the way, the business way, to build that trust. That's exactly what our passengers need, and that's where travel agencies will be. We were there when we had to repatriate people who were all around the world, travel agents to work in order to reprogram all of our passengers, even with no money at all, because or even in negative numbers. But now we see with great expectations the D-Day that will be between September and October if we advance with the vaccination programs in a sustainable way. But I am convinced that we have to reformulate the work strategies. We have many challenges ahead, internally, inside the agencies, and with our passengers and the public and private sector. And I believe that the work that we have been doing here in the ACAT and all of the institutions, we've all understood that we need to work together and that we're going to be able to get out of this, as I said, all in this together. Our sector cannot extend this crisis anymore, unfortunately, and that's where we have to work hard, and that's what I am convinced of. Thank you very much. You are on mute. Thank you, Gustavo. I am thinking about something you said before, and it's the following. This pandemic has produced a repositioning of something that was complicated already. Technology was beating travel agencies. Technology was imposing over travel agencies. But this pandemic showed us that there is still a long way to go for travel agents. What seemed to be a profession that was complicated, well, now they recovered ground, and they have a lot to do ahead, because one of the things that we found is that specialization and the work done together with an agent or travel agent is much more important than perhaps the possibility of getting your own tickets through an app. How did you live that situation somehow to recover that role that I think you were losing very much, and maybe unfairly, because there is a lot of preparation for travel agents in order to sell a service. You are absolutely right what you're saying. I think the crisis, what the crisis has done, and to benefit travel agencies to revive that face-to-face or personalized experience. The ones that were there to reprogram tickets and all that and worked at all times, even without getting any money in return, because we had already sold those tickets, were us. Now we need to capitalize that achievement, which was the revaluing of the personalized service. And we have to work a lot on that, as you said, with Roberto, through training. But travel agencies or travel agents, we have a great opportunity, and we need to work around it to capitalize it. Thank you. Well, I think that somehow these two presentations summarize the scenario in which the touristic activity is going to revolve. And in the post-pandemic, I think we have to build virtuous bonds between consumers and service suppliers, service vendors. We think that all the stops that we every time a tourist wants to buy a trip, have ended up going through the window, and I think nowadays it brings us closer, this opportunity of working together, where we don't talk about clients or service vendors, we talk about a touristic sector that on the one hand you have the consumers, and on the other hand we have the service providers. We have a very big challenge ahead. You have a lot of work to do, and it's going to force us to be very smart, very flexible, and to be very well prepared for the tourism that is coming. Without a doubt, it generated a contained demand. There's a need to travel. There is a need to live wonderful experiences. And I think that your administration, your management will make it very virtuously. I know that you have other things to do. I know this is a little bit delayed, and I just want to tell you the conclusions, and that I will do it once you have disconnected. Thank you very much. All right. To finish with this panel, we wanted to tell you what the CITA conclusions are. CITA is the International Congress of Argentine Tourism that the Argentine Tourism Chamber organized a few days ago together with the Ministry of Tourism and Sports National Administration, together with Aerolíneas Argentinas, the Federal Council of Tourism, and Impartur. Usually, I like to talk and not read things, but it allows me to speak freely and more flexibly, to start sharing my ideas with those here in an event or whatever. But in this case, when I wanted to analyze the conclusions of CITA, I found with a piece of writing, and I like to read it. Ludmila has written it. She worked with the CAT very much on this Congress, and I think it's a very nice, very actual, very current text, so I'll take the liberty of reading what she wrote yesterday. CITA 2021 leaves us some teachings about the importance of being resilient in life, of continue betting for everything we love, that driver that in our case it means to link the world with people and the people with the world, because there is no better antidote in crisis than to face them from the passion, with passion. And something that is Congress left very clearly is that people dreamed of traveling, and that's where we have to be to make those dreams come true. It's also this idea of doing tourism in a new way, in the hands of technology and innovation. This new normal, between inverted commas, demands that we are prepared to the new ways of consuming. A more digital passenger that has learned during the pandemic to use different technological tools that will introduce into their trips, but that will also rediscover the value of asking the experts. Without a doubt, this new scenario for the tourism industry does not only include technology. Pandemic also leaves us with a fairer, inclusive tourism, more accessible, more affordable, where we can all share and enjoy our landscapes, and where countries' integration will be key for a successful development of the touristic activities. It leaves us with ideas that we need very much to reinvent ourselves, to be restless and to face changes even in the worst moments. The Congress was a clear evidence that the teamwork and dedication for our sector can contribute added value, very important added value to these difficult times that we are faced with. In summary, this Congress left us with a teaching to dare to dream even in the worst nightmares. I think this summarizes what we think and what we feel, those who live out of this beautiful activity. It tells us a lot about the responsibility that we have of taking a chance for the activity, the most important activities that the human being has. One of the most cross-sectional activities among all the economic activities, and all in all, it's a huge opportunity that we have ahead to recover the vertical, to create jobs again, and to place our country and our region as this huge continent where the natural destinations are around the corner. They are right there at a hand's reach to receive tourists from all over the world. Thank you so much from FEDESUR, from the Argentine Chamber of Tourism. I see my dear friends, Are Lastra, Esteban Avilés. It's a pleasure to be with you in this presentation you made. Thank you. Córdoba is always different, and this time it was not different. And I leave you with the words, Laura.
Thank you, Aldo Elias, President of the Argentine Chamber of Tourism, also President of FEDESUD. It was an honor to have you here as a moderator and presenter, and also the conclusions of this recent Congress, and share the value of passion as you did in this panel. Let's now continue with last panel. So we'll introduce